Welcome to listening to stories on Kevin.tv audiobook channel. Chapter 2335, Arriving at the Holy Continent. Tian Yang, you're safe. Ren Xia leaped into his embrace the moment she noticed him entering their personal world. Tian Yang quickly spread his arms to catch her, who immediately started kissing him. What happened to Kulis? Ren Xia asked a moment later, her arms still wrapped around his neck. I killed him. Sort of. Tian Yang sighed. He retrieved the treasure he used to seal Kulis' soul and explained the situation. After destroying Kulis' body, his soul attempted to escape, so I sealed it inside this treasure. If I hadn't done so, Zaran would have created another vessel for Kulis' soul and returned to wreaking havoc again. Does that mean a cultivator at the God realm cannot die without their soul being destroyed? That we can replace our physical body endlessly? Ren Xia muttered with a dumbfounded face. Or is it because Kulis' soul is being influenced by an eternal that makes it possible? Tian Yang shook his head and said, There's still a lot we don't know about the God realm, but things should become clearer as time passes. He looked around and asked, By the way, where's Rusi? Ren Xia rubbed her eyes and released a soft sigh before responding. She went back with her family. Tian Yang raised an eyebrow and asked, Did she choose to go back with them, or? No, her father brought her back. I wanted to protest, but her injuries were more serious than I initially thought, and I was in no condition to stop them from taking her away. Jing Rue also went back with her. I understand. Tian Yang calmly nodded. You're a lot calmer than I expected you would be. What if she never returns? Ren Xia asked. If she doesn't return, I'll just go to her. I have always wanted to visit the Holy Continent anyway. I see. What are you going to do now? She then asked. I'm going to visit C.A. Mei and the others first. After that, I'll continue my cultivation and hopefully advance to the next level. Okay. Tian Yang left the world for several months before returning and entering seclusion. Time passed swiftly, and in the blink of an eye, 100 years have passed since the war with the giant race concluded. After the war, the world united to repair the devastation. For decades, it enjoyed an unprecedented peace until disturbances began to stir once more. However, the disturbance lurked in the shadows, unknown to most of the world for a long time. Eventually, it could no longer be contained, and it engulfed countless families across the world. When Tian Yang emerged from his seclusion after 500 years, he asked Ren Xia, Any news from Rushi? No, but her family's in the spotlight again. What is happening this time? The 3 pillars of heaven are trying to conquer the world, Ren Xia calmly responded. Excuse me? Tian Yang's eyes widened at her words, not daring to believe his ears for a moment. I mean, they're trying to take advantage of their position as the leader of the Alliance during the war. Even though the war has ended, the 3 pillars of heaven still want the Alliance to continue with them as the leader, and with how many families and sects are involved in this alliance, it would make them the most powerful family in the world, essentially turning them into the emperor of this world, she elaborated. Tian Yang rubbed his eyes and sighed. The 3 pillars of heaven have always been the most powerful family in the world, but their power and influence were still limited. However, all of that would change if they had the backing of the majority of backgrounds in the world. What is the others' reaction to this? Well, half of them have already sided with the 3 pillars of heaven and agreed to serve them, and that number is still growing. Even with half of them, the 3 pillars of heaven is already powerful enough to rule this world. Tian Yang then asked, why would they agree to serve the 3 pillars of heaven? Most wouldn't agree to such a thing even if forced. Did the 3 pillars of heaven offer them something in exchange for their loyalty? Most likely, but they didn't and wouldn't reveal something like that, so the public has no way of knowing. Tian Yang pondered for a moment before revealing the enlightened one who is being influenced by an eternal is likely involved with this. Now that Xiaran's invasion has been stopped, another eternal must be trying to do the same thing. Is there anything we can do? Ren Xia asked. He shook his head. Not right now. Let's just hope it doesn't lead to another war. Ren Xia sighed. Tian Yang proceeded to spend several years preparing for his visit to the Holy Continent. "I will be going to the Holy Continent now," he said to Ren Shaya once he was prepared. "Are you sure you don't want me to come with you?" He nodded. "Knowing that another Eternal is active, I don't want you to even get close to the Holy Continent. At least until I know what we're dealing with." Ren Shaya knew better than to argue with Tian Yang on this matter by now, and quickly gave up on trying to convince him. "Be safe," she said right as he left the world. After leaving, Tian Yang traveled directly to the Holy Continent, a place once off limits, but now open to virtually anyone. So this is the Holy Continent, huh? The spiritual energy in this place is ridiculously rich and dense. It's no wonder they made this place their territory. Tian Yang closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He opened his eyes a moment later and started looking around with a confused face. "What? He began moving his limbs around as if testing them. It took a moment, but clarity eventually hit him. "So this is where the real trial begins, huh?" Yuan muttered after regaining control of his body after reliving Tian Yang's life for hundreds of thousands of years. Chapter 236, The Real Beginning of the Unique Trial. After regaining control over his body, Yuan took a moment to ponder his situation and analyze the current condition of his body. It didn't take long before Yuan realized that he was unable to utilize any skills that did not belong to his current body. For example, he was unable to use God of War's astral arts, since it was not something Tian Yang learned. This also meant that he was not in his real body, but one that was created by the trial. "So I have taken over Tian Yang's body, and I am only able to use techniques that he could use." Once he understood this, Yuan used his divine sense to scan the Holy Continent, as I thought, "It's quite weak." Despite being at the second level of God ascension, Tian Yang's soul strength was nowhere near Yuan's level while being a mere immortal, not to mention how long Tian Yang had cultivated Heaven's indomitable soul. Tian Yang may have been the first to refine Heaven's indomitable soul, but he wasn't the last. As someone who learned the most recent Heaven's indomitable soul, Yuan could tell that the soul cultivation technique had been refined several more times after Tian Yang's era, hence why his soul strength surpassed Tian Yang despite only having it for a few decades. Sometime later, Yuan made his way to the nearest and only city on the Holy Continent, the Heavenly City. The Heavenly City sprawled over 10,000 miles, making it one of the largest cities in the world. It was so vast that most of its residents were cultivators, and the few mortals who lived there were wealthy merchants who could afford the mini-teleportation formations scattered throughout the city. In this era, the Holy Continent was called the Cultivator's Paradise for its rich, abundant spiritual energy, an environment tailor-made for cultivation, but it wasn't open to everyone, as only those who pledged allegiance to the 3 pillars of heaven were permitted to enjoy it. However, since there wasn't any barrier that prevented people from entering, many cultivators would sneak onto its land to cultivate. Of course, if they were caught, they would be executed on the spot. Upon arriving at the Heavenly City, Yuan was stopped by the guards at the gate. "Where is your heavenly medallion?" asked one of the guards as he inspected Yuan from head to toe. Another guard proceeded to explain, "You're supposed to have it on your body and visible to the naked eye at all times while you're in the Holy Continent. Or you could be mistaken as an invader and killed on the spot." Yuan shook his head and said, "I don't have one. Where can I get one?" The guards immediately frowned. "What the hell? So you're an invader?" They immediately pointed their weapons at him. Yuan calmly raised his arms and spoke. "Was I supposed to request permission to enter this place before coming here? I wasn't aware of that." "Identify yourself." "You, Tian Yang." "What did you just say, Tian Yang?" The guards visibly trembled after hearing his name. "That's right, you know me." "Oh, of course. However, we'll need some proof that you're Tian Yang. Evidence, huh?" Yuan pondered for a moment before releasing some of his aura. This aura? The God realm? Once the guards recognized Yuan's cultivation, his identity ceased to matter. With fewer than 10 God Ascension cultivators in existence, each one commanded immense respect and veneration from everyone, and the three pillars of heaven granted them special permission to enter the Holy Continent. Please forgive us for being unable to recognize you, Senior Tien. The guards immediately lowered their weapons and bodies to bow to him. Please, take my heavenly medallion. One of the guards even handed his own heavenly medallion to Yuan. Yuan accepted the medallion and asked, "Where can I find the three pillars of heaven?" Normally, you'd need to send an audience request and wait in the city for your turn, which could take months, if not years. With that being said, the three pillars of heaven have already granted you special permission to visit their estate at your convenience, said one of the guards. After all, you're the hero who defeated the giant emperor and saved humanity. Tian Yang had never announced to the world that he defeated Kulas. However, the news was still spread somehow. Is that so? Then where do I go to meet them? Yuan then asked. I can guide you there, said the guard who handed his own heavenly medallion to Yuan. All right. After signing out of his post, the guard left the city and led Yuan toward the three pillars of heaven. If you don't mind me asking, how did you defeat the giant emperor? Was there a trick to it? I heard that not even 6 God realm cultivators working together were able to hurt him, much less stop him. I'm much stronger than them. That's all there is to it, Yuan calmly replied. Is that so? Anyway, I am forever grateful to you for defeating the giant emperor. If you hadn't stopped him, he would have likely pushed all of us to extinction. The guard continued to lick Yuan's boots for several hours until he realized that Yuan had stopped responding long ago. Eventually, they arrived at their destination. We have arrived at the three pillars of heaven's estate, the heavenly manor. Please wait here for a moment while I announce your presence. The guard bowed to Yuan before rushing past the group of individuals waiting outside before disappearing inside. Yuan gave the group a glance before ignoring them to focus on the massive estate in front of him. This place reeks of them. Yuan shook his head inwardly. Although he may not be able to use his techniques, his senses were left untouched, so he could still sense eternal essence, which enveloped the entire place like a blanket. Several minutes later, the guard returned with someone by his side, a handsome middle-aged man wearing red robes. When the group beside Yuan saw the man, they immediately bowed. We greet Patriarch's son. Chapter 2337, Sun Ruxi's position within the family. You must be Tian Yang. Patriarch's son rushed to greet him, completely ignoring the group who greeted him first, not even bothering to give them a glance. I was wondering when you would finally visit our holy continent. You have no idea how much I have been wanting to speak to you after that day. Yuan ignored his enthusiasm and said, I'm here to see Sun Ruxi. How is she? My daughter. She's currently in seclusion. If you want to see her, you'll have to wait until she emerges. Wait for her? That could take thousands of years. That's unlikely. Since she went into seclusion to finish healing her injuries and not to cultivate, it shouldn't take too long, said Patriarch's son. In the meantime, why don't we have a conversation? It's related to my daughter, too.
All right.
Yuan nodded and calmly followed him away, leaving the other group speechless. Who the hell was that? I have never seen anyone speaking so casually with Patriarch's son before. Patriarch's son didn't seem to mind it either. He must be a big shot. But why don't I recognize him? Patriarch's son called him Tian Yang, right? I know him. Everyone there turned to the one who just spoke with anticipation. He's the one who showed up near the end of our war with the giant race. Apparently, he's the one who defeated the giant emperor and ended the war. What? He's the one who defeated the giant emperor, the one even 6 God realm cultivators working together couldn't defeat? The group erupted in shock upon learning Tian Yang's identity. Sometime later, Patriarch's son led Yuan into a private room. After serving some tea, Patriarch's son spoke in a sincere voice. Before we begin, I would like to thank you for defeating the giant emperor and saving our lives. If it weren't for you, I don't even dare to imagine the consequences of losing the war. Yuan nonchalantly nodded as he sipped on the tea. Immediately, he could sense his celestial chi growing stronger. What do you think? Patriarch Sun smiled after noticing delight in Yuan's eyes, and he proceeded to explain. We only recently successfully crafted this tea. Not only does it require extremely rare ingredients, but it also takes a tremendous amount of time and effort to grow, despite being the patriarch of the Sun family. This is only my second time savoring this tea. Thank you. It was a delightful experience, Yuan said, gently placing his teacup down. Patriarch Sun replied, I would offer you another, but convincing the others to part with even that single cup required considerable effort. Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly and said, Let's get straight to the point. What do you want from me? Patriarch Sun's expression suddenly turned serious and he spoke, Before that, I have a question for you. What is your relationship with my daughter, Sun Rusi? This is very important for our upcoming topic, so please answer me truthfully. After a brief moment of silence, Yuan calmly responded, We're lovers. He knew there was no point in lying and that there was a very good chance they were already aware of their relationship. Patriarch Sun barely reacted to Yuan's response, confirming his suspicions. How did the two of you meet? Patriarch Sun continued to ask. Does it really matter? No, I'm just curious. Then you can ask Sun Rusi herself. Unfortunately, she's not very fond of me. She would simply ignore me if I asked. Is that why she ran away to the immortal monastery? Yuan inquired, framed mulm. That, I guess you can say that. After a moment of silence, Patriarch Sun continued, Anyway, let's start the main topic. I don't know how much my daughter has told you about our family, but since you have acknowledged yourself to be Sun Rusi's lover, you are obligated to join our family. Yuan then said, Unfortunately, she didn't tell me anything about her family. Then you'll have a lot to learn. Yuan nodded. He didn't mind joining their family since this was just a trial. He also needed to learn more about the 3 pillars of heaven since he still lacked Tianyang's memories after he defeated Kulas and arrived at the Holy Continent. Let's start with Sun Rushi, the eldest child of the Sun family, a peerless genius whose innate comprehension allows her to create and grasp techniques that none have been able to rival thus far. A good portion of the techniques within our family were created by her, and if she didn't create them, she was involved in their creation one way or another. Of course, her talents don't stop there, and she can finish incomplete techniques started by others. Furthermore, she can refine techniques without even mastering them. In terms of talent, Sun Rusi is definitely at the top, not just within my Sun family, but the entire 3 pillars of heaven. Even though I am the patriarch of the family, possessing more authority than her, Sun Rushi's influence throughout the 3 families far surpasses mine. Yuan remained silent. Even though he was aware of Sun Rushi's talents, he didn't expect her position within the 3 pillars of heaven to be so prestigious, to think she made herself sound like some unimportant figure. Yuan shook his head inwardly. However, after learning about Sun Rushi's influence, he became surprised and puzzled about her family's lack of care during her disappearance. Although Sun Rushi remained hidden within Tianyang's world for most of the time, there was no word of her family looking for her. Given their massive influence and unlimited resources, they could have easily found her if they tried even slightly. Yet there wasn't even a whisper about it, as if they didn't try to look for her, which was weird considering her talents and value. Unable to ignore his curiosity, Yuan decided to inquire. Why didn't you try looking for her when she ran away from home? He asked with a slightly narrowed gaze. Chapter 2338, Heaven's Envoy. We've spent tens of thousands of years together, yet her family seemed to have put in 0 effort to find her, as if they didn't care if she was missing or dead. Yuan continued in a grim voice. It's not that we didn't want to look for her, Patriarch Sun responded after releasing a deep sigh. After a brief moment of silence, he continued, We wanted to look for her, but we received a prophecy from the Enlightened One. Yuan raised his eyebrows and asked, A prophecy that tells you not to search for a missing person? What kind of nonsense is that? It is the will of heaven. I have neither the authority nor the reason to question it, Patriarch Sun said with a solemn expression. his eyes clear and unwavering, filled with firm faith in the Enlightened One. From what Rushi told me, the Enlightened One has the ability to commune with heaven and receive its guidance. Is that correct? Patriarch Sun nodded. The Enlightened One is heaven's envoy, a messenger sent by heaven itself to guide us along the path to glory. Then where was the Enlightened One during the war with the giant race? Yuan asked. He was absent throughout the entire conflict. The Enlightened One does not need to act in order to be involved, Patriarch Sun replied calmly. Even inaction is the will of heaven. In the end, we were victorious. Yuan's eyes narrowed. No, we won because I stepped in. Without me, this place wouldn't even exist anymore. Patriarch Sun calmly nodded. That is true. You were the one who defeated the giant emperor. However, the Enlightened One had already foreseen it. We were unaware of this at the time, but after everything ended, he revealed the truth to us. He said that had he intervened, it would have altered our future and caused us to stray from the path of glory. What a convenient excuse. And he's a prophet now, too. I thought he could only speak with heaven. You're mistaken. Although the Enlightened One possesses unfathomable power, he is not a prophet, as it was heaven who foresaw everything. The Enlightened One merely received heaven's message. Yuan was beginning to understand why Sun Rushi disliked her family, although he could reveal the truth about the Enlightened One and the existence behind it to Patriarch Sun. Doing so would be pointless. In fact, he would likely be dismissed as a madman. I'd like to meet the Enlightened One. Would that be possible? Yuan suddenly asked. Patriarch Sun shook his head and said, Meeting the Enlightened One is not easy. In fact, even I cannot meet him without his permission. Yuan lifted an eyebrow. Then how does he pass down heaven's will? The Enlightened One spends most of his time within the celestial chamber. If he wishes to speak with us, he will send out a scroll. Of course, if we wish to speak with him, we leave our messages in the celestial hall. In that case, do you think I can write a message to him?
Of course.
Patriarch Sun retrieved a golden scroll from his spatial ring and placed it on the table before him. You may write whatever message you wish to convey here, and I will send it to the celestial hall. That said, there is no fixed time frame for when it will be read. It could be months, perhaps even years before the Enlightened One reads it. Yuan silently nodded and started writing his message on the scroll with an ink brush. A short sentence later, Yuan closed the scroll and handed it back to Patriarch Sun. Now then, let's talk about your relationship with my daughter, Patriarch Sun said after putting away the scroll. Sun Rushi is the eldest and most talented in our family. Although you have already proven your own capabilities by defeating the giant emperor, you'll still need to receive the family's approval before we can officially accept you into our family. And how do I acquire said approval? The Sun family will hold a meeting with all elders 1 year from now. At the meeting, we will have a simple vote where they either approve or disapprove of you. To be approved, you'll need to be supported by at least half of the people there. There used to be 20 elders in the family, but after the war, we're down to 8, so you'll need at least approval from 4 of them. In other words, I have a year to make these elders like me, huh? Yuan mumbled. What will happen if I fail to join? He then asked. Then your relationship with my daughter will end. I see. Simple enough. We will provide you with a living quarter during your 1-year stay here. If you ever need anything, you may ask any of the servants around. Until the meeting, you're still my daughter's partner, and we will treat you like one, said Patriarch Sun. Any questions for me before I send you to your quarter? What am I not allowed to do during my stay? There are only 2 rules you must keep in mind. 1, never approach the celestial hall, which leads to the celestial chamber. 2, do not approach or speak with the Enlightened One unless spoken to first, revealed Patriarch Sun in a solemn voice. Failure to do so will result in your execution, even if you're a God Realm cultivator. Are you certain you can kill the one who defeated the giant emperor? Yuan asked, a provocative smile on his lips. Patriarch Sun narrowed his eyes before replying calmly. You may have defeated the giant emperor, but you are still human. Moreover, as long as you remain on the Holy Continent, We hold the advantage. Had our battle with the giant emperor taken place here, we likely would have defeated him as well. Yuan stayed silent, but the smile on his face remained. Are you doubting me? Patriarch's son couldn't help but ask. Of course not. After all, I'm already aware of the countless powerful formations that envelop this place, he calmly replied.